Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we take a look at the Blood Angels with the last stand of the Sanguinary Guard against the Xenos known as the Tyranids. The events we are going to be discussing today are from the short story Sanguine by Dirk Wenner. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Now this is a free short story for everyone to read as part of the Psychic Awakening campaign. And it's a great little read, I've got to say. It's available to read and download on the Warhammer community website. I'll put a link in the description for you all to check it out as always. And as I always say, I really recommend you read the story for yourself first, because that's how we get the most enjoyment out of the lore, by experiencing it for ourselves. If you're not familiar with the Warhammer community website, I do recommend it. It's got news and articles every week to check out. And it's had some fantastic little short stories uploaded from time to time that you might otherwise not have known about. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. Now, this story takes place on a once thriving Imperial world named Coolatta 6. That was until the Hive fleet arrived. They say a space marine knows no fear. Brother Achilleo thinks about this as he kneels in the mud while torrents of acidic rain pour down on him, tarnishing his golden armour. He thinks about this, breathing heavily, not only due to the wounds he suffered, but also because his lungs are clotting with alien spores and toxins. Both will prove too much, even for his advanced metabolism. He will die. He knows he will. And he thinks about fear. He also knows the Xenos are watching him from the shadows. Thousands upon thousands of eyes are glinting between the broken columns of the ruined Imperial Cathedral, fixating upon the Sanguinary Guard with a single mind. Sanguinary Guard, as exalted compared to his lesser battle brothers as they are to normal humans. Achilleo has witnessed the two cataclysmic wars on Armageddon and watched the great Erasmus Tycho die. He has fought the treacherous Alpha Legion in the depths of the Sinful Nebula and tested his blade against the Necron menace on Galterian Prime. He was there when the Tyranids fell upon Baal, saw hope almost die and then rekindle when Lord Guilliman returned, gifting the Blood Angels with their new Primaris battle brothers. A really impactful little passage there, really highlighting what it means to be a Sanguinary Guard, as exalted compared to his lesser battle brothers as they are to normal humans. That's really quite saying something, but it shows the reverence in which the Sanguinary Guard are held by the rest of the chapter, dating back to the time of the Legions and the Primarch, Sanguinius himself. And look at everything Achilleo has been through. 2 wars upon Armageddon, alongside the legend that was Captain Tycho, facing down the traitorous heretics such as the Alpha Legion, the foul menace that is the Necrons, and surviving the devastation of Baal, only to bear witness to the returned Primarch himself. And still he stands in the name of the Emperor. And yet, here he is, on his knees. Hundreds of years of service are about to end. His jump pack malfunctioned days ago, its magnificent wings now lie in the dirt next to him, mangled, splattered with Xeno blood from his latest encounter. His encarmine blade, an artisan's work forged thousands of years ago, is broken. The top half of the blade is missing. His bolter, the signature weapon of a space marine, has run dry and is nothing but a useless weight to him now. His artificer armour is rent. His poison blood runs from dozens of wounds. This is the end. The creatures are all around him, closing in, eager for the last kill. He knows it. He can hear the rain running over thousands of hides, dripping from bared teeth. Achilleo thinks about fear and closes his eyes. From there we hear the tragic tale of Coolatta 6, the peaceful world it had been, a haven amidst the turmoil that had become the Imperium, before the Tyranids arrived. They had overwhelmed the defense force within days, and the planet had become awash with the Xenos. The Blood Angels, already stretched so thin across the Imperium, answered the plea for help, but even they couldn't stop the tidal wave that was the swarm. Yet they would never stop trying, and they would never yield, even until only 3 members of the entire strike force remained. So many battle brothers had fallen, yet Achilleo and his men still fought on. They were all that was left from the Blood Angels' strike force. Brother Gianluca, Brother Vasco, and himself. 3 men of the Sanguinary Guard. The finest warriors the Blood Angels had to offer. They would not yield. This world is dying, and we will die with it, brothers. Gianluca flexed his power fist as he stared into the rolling clouds in the far distance. Occasionally a sickening green flash would light up the scene, sharply outlining uncountable winged shapes and capillary towers of the Tyranids. True, answered Achilleo, but every creature we slay still costs the swarm. Every citizen we might yet manage to evacuate does even more so. Gianluca snorted. He always had been out of character for a warrior of the Sanguinary Guard. Look around you, brother. There are no citizens left to evacuate. There is only us. Multiple contacts, Vasco said, his quiet tone interrupting his brothers. They are closing in from the cathedral south of here. He looked up. His face did not reveal his thoughts. It didn't have to. By multiple, I mean thousands. I guess it is a feeding swarm. Achilleo nodded. This was it then. How long until they arrive? 1 hour? Maybe less. Gianluca once more flexed his power fist. The gears and servos were whining, clogged with alien blood and viscera from days of near constant fighting. All right then. A feeding swarm, he said. I always wanted to hunt down one of those Harrispexes. Vasco was about to answer when a shape exploded from the slimy water of a once delicate fountain. Huge talons lashed out and grabbed the Space Marine by the arms. Wet tentacles wrapped around his head and violently forced their way into every opening. It all happened in a fraction of a second. The 3 Sanguinary Guard are ambushed by a lictor, who immediately slays Vasco before even their enhanced reflexes can react. Gianluca and Achilleo immediately engage the beast, but the exhausted guard lose another as the lictor decapitates Gianluca before disappearing, leaving only Achilleo as the sole surviving member of the Blood Angels strike force against an entire hive swarm. But rather than retreat, try to flee the planet, Achilleo has only vengeance in mind. Exhausted, battered, blooded, the Sanguinary Guard follows the small trail of blood heading to the cathedral in the distance. Half-hour later, the Golden Warrior stepped through a towering gate into the damp darkness of the cathedral. It might have been day or night. It made no difference anymore. The roof of the building had been torn apart by continuous spore bombardment, but the sky was filled with huge shadows and horror, blotting out any sunlight. Achilleo coughed as he looked around. His wound wasn't closing properly, and strange spores and poisons of the Tyranids filled the air, changing and weakening every lifeform on the planet. Achilleo estimated that the planet would be dead within hours. Clicking and clattering noises surrounded him. He had seen carpets of ripper swarms on his way here, the vanguard organisms of the feeding swarm. They ignored him, possessed with the need to devour and absorb, stripping away from the land every bit of organic material. Achilleo thought of his battle brothers' bodies and swallowed, lost forever. There were hundreds of creatures in the darkness surrounding him, amassing with every passing second, watching and waiting. As he had hoped it would, the hive mind tried to minimize casualties. Perhaps it did not want to waste valuable resources, which is why it sent forth the one beast that knew exactly how Achilleo would fight. It was the creature he had followed here, the one he had come to kill. The lictor burst from the shadows between a row of ornate columns above Achilleo, trying to snatch him like it had Vasco. But he too had learned. Achilleo spun around to parry the blow of the scything talons, his incarmine blade resonating with the sheer power of the strike. He stepped back and fired a burst of bolt rounds that struck the lictor's left leg. One hit, two hits, click, click, click. The weapons machine's spirit was exhausted. Still, huge chunks of flesh exploded from the lictor's leg as the bolt rounds detonated. The beast roared and propelled itself forwards. Its rending claws caught hold of the wings, emblazing his armour, and ripped them away in an angry flurry of sparks. As Achilleo and the lictor tumbled, he thrust his blade deep into the beast's injured chest, widening the wound his brother had torn. As both warriors fell, the sword slit into the Tyranid's flesh, burying itself to the hilt. Still the monster fought on. One of its claws tore off Achilleo's helmet, and twisted tentacles groped his face, their bony outgrowths tearing at his flesh. Achilleo struggled, pressing against the weight of the Xenos and trying to free his blade. His elbow smashed against the lictor's skull while he tore hard with his other hand. The sword twisted and tilted in the lictor's exoskeleton, then finally broke free with a burst of energy as it splintered in the middle. The lictor hissed and let go of Achilleo, and he was free once more. "Come now, let us end this," the Space Marine growled. Their steps unsteady, the two bleeding fighters staggered towards each other. A streak of lightning tore apart the sky above them, illuminating the scene for a split second. The ruins around them crawled and teemed with thousands upon thousands of Tyranid creatures. As Achilleo and the lictor met, a clap of thunder followed the lightning, and rain began to pour down. They say a Space Marine knows no fear. They are right. Oh man, what a great scene that is. What a great scene that would be to see on screen. The Blood Angel and the lictor going at it amidst the dark, gloomy cathedral, with only flashes of lightning breaking the darkness, revealing the hordes of Tyranids just watching and waiting from the shadows. Oh man, just awesome, it really is. Oh, but it doesn't end there, my friends. Even as awesome an end as that would be, Achilleo opens his eyes, the dead lictor prone next to him on the floor. Barely managing to prop himself up with his broken blade for support, the son of Sanguinius rises to his feet once more, one last time, as the swarm pours in from the shadows. He locks eyes with a massive Tyranid warrior as the hive mind stares directly back at him. But if it was hoping to see fear, it's disappointed, as there is only darkness. As at this final moment, this final stand, Achilleo, the Sanguinary Guard, the Blood Angel, finally gives in to the rage that's been cooling in his blood his entire life. Oh man, I normally only get goosebumps at a Primarch or an Emperor moment, but damn, this scene ran it close. What an awesome scene it was. Sanguinius would be proud. Man, seriously, how can you not like the Blood Angels? And how can you top that? Seriously, I want a Dante short story like this. Except he wins, of course, because, you know, he's Dante, obviously. What a great read it really was. If you haven't read it, go check it out, guys. Like I said, it's free, so why not? But as always, what did you guys think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. A huge thank you to all my subscribers. Your support really means a lot to me. It truly does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too? But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you guys again real soon.